Welcome back to Amazing Islam. In this YouTube channel of mine, we're currently exploring Islam through the letters of Imam Abu Hamid Muhammad ibn Muhammad al-Ghazali. These letters are compiled in a book entitled Rasaail Imam Ghazali, or in English, Letters of Imam Ghazali. Ghazali's letters were written in Arabic and subsequently translated into Urdu, which is my native language, in addition to English. My fluency in Urdu and English are probably equally strong and effective. On Amazing Islam, my current goal is to translate the Urdu translation of Ghazali's letters into English and present them for your viewing and listening pleasure, and hopefully to spark positive and enlightening change in the thinking and perspectives of the audience. I will always begin with a quick summary and emphasis on lessons learned from the letter that follows in the presentation. This way, lessons will be learned and misconceptions will be avoided. My designs for this YouTube channel remain in evolution as I search for ways to optimize its content and creativity. I have decided to present Letters of Imam Ghazali based on content rather than in the order that they are present in the 3-volume series entitled Rasaail Imam Ghazali. Choice of letter may also depend on what chapter I happen to be reading at the time of video recording. The current letter that I'm reading in this video is from a chapter entitled Correspondence with a Student. Ghazali is writing to one of his students concerning the importance of implementation of knowledge. Ghazali points out that knowing is not enough. Acquisition of knowledge without resultant implementation is a waste of time. This may seem obvious, but it's actually very common and pervasive in attitudes worldwide, not only in religion and philosophy, but also in mundane aspects of life, such as career and interpersonal relationships. Let me give you an example. If a student wants good grades, it's important for him to know that he or she must be devoted to studying. He or she must devote a set amount of time every day to reviewing and comprehending his or her curriculum, avoid distractions, avoid procrastination, wake up early and go to bed early, and adopt habits that are conducive to good health, including a regular exercise regimen and avoiding fatty foods and avoiding beef and pork. Now, if a student says he disagrees with the above and feels that a disorganized and unhealthy lifestyle is just as good, then of course the student is going to be unsuccessful. On the other hand, the student may feel that the above rules are appropriate, but that they do not apply to him or her because the rules are for those who are not so smart as him or her. Again, this type of student will likely end up in trouble academically. There are other students who know very well what the key to getting good grades is, but they still do not implement what they know. Maybe because distractions such as arcades are too addictive, or because they think they will start implementing tomorrow or soon thereafter. These students are also predisposed to failure. The only students that are nearly guaranteed good results are the ones who know what to do to get good grades and actually do what it takes to be successful. Similarly, when it comes to religion or any aspect of life, for that matter, one must acknowledge the truth, and one must, in addition to knowing the truth, put it into practice and be a living, breathing example of spirituality, morality, and good character. The final result will be amazing. Indeed, those who correctly understand and practice Islam lead amazing, exemplary lives. Of course, not knowing constitutes a different scenario, but most persons cannot claim ignorance. Indeed, if a person is never exposed to the truth, that person will not be held accountable. Here is the first letter to a student by Imam Ghazali. Please note the use of alcohol as a metaphor for knowledge. Weighing alcohol is equated to acquiring knowledge. Alcohol consumption is a metaphor for the implementation of knowledge, and the alcoholic intoxication is a metaphor for the benefits of putting knowledge into practice. The chapter entitled Correspondence with a Student begins with a brief contextual introduction, followed by the letter itself. Be it known that amongst the students of respected Imam Muhammad Ghazali, there was one student who acquired knowledge under Imam Ghazali for many years and who extracted full advantage from many branches of knowledge. That student began to ponder. I have for many years worked hard to attain knowledge of virtually every branch of study or discipline. However, I do not know which of these sciences will lead to the illumination of my grave, and which type of knowledge is better to be avoided. His Holiness Muhammad, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, asked the exalted Allah's protection from such knowledge and has said, I seek Allah's protection from knowledge that cannot be of any benefit for me. The student pondered in this way for a few days, and then with the intention of finding answers, fully divulged his dilemma in a letter to his teacher Imam Muhammad Ghazali. The student also listed a few other unresolved questions. The student sought spiritual advice in addition to supplications that he may recite often and repeatedly. In his letter, the student clarified that he was aware of Imam Ghazali's many books that deal with similar metaphysical dilemmas, including Revival of the Religious Sciences, Alchemy of Happiness, Jewels of the Quran, 40 Traditions, Moonlight Pride of the Worshippers, etc. But the student felt weak and felt that he needed prayers that he could recite often and implement often. On that, Imam Ghazali, may Allah be pleased with him, replied with this letter, which contained the following advice. In the name of Allah, the Beneficent, the Merciful, all praise belongs to Allah, Lord of the worlds, and peace and blessings be upon the Messenger Muhammad and his family. Dearest son and honest friend, may Allah the Exalted bless you with a long life of worship and devotion, and give you the ability to tread upon the path of your beloved role models. You should know that the ultimate fountain of all advice is the revered Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him. Therefore, all collective advice is derived from the Prophet's hadith, sayings, and sunnah, actions. Advice which is contrary to hadith or sunnah is futile and unprofitable. Countless advice has been written and reported in books devoted to the Prophet's sayings and in light of his life and actions. If you have been able to extract any advice from them, then you do not need any further advice from me. But if you find yourself needful of advice, despite the advice of the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, then please tell me, what knowledge have you been amassing all these years? Son, one advice of the Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, is the following. The immersion of a slave in acquisition of unprofitable knowledge is a sign that the exalted Allah has removed his eye of kindness from him. And it's a tragic event when a person spends even one moment in a task that is other than the task for which he was created. The Prophet, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, has also stated, if after 40 years of age, a person's good deeds do not outweigh the bad deeds, that person should prepare to enter hellfire. Son, it's very easy for the whole world to preach all of this, but putting it into practice is very difficult. Those persons whose hearts are consumed with worldly pleasures and bodily desires, they find advice and guidance bitter. Their hearts are imprisoned in worldly desire and ease. In this vein, it is most important to mention that a person who has acquired philosophical wisdom and other such worldly knowledge and believes that his knowledge, in addition to providing the short-term grandeur and rank of this world, will provide him with the salvation of the hereafter, that person thinks it's not necessary to act upon his knowledge. The proponent of philosophy thinks he is not responsible for his actions. The truth is the exact opposite. Glory be to the exalted Allah. That person does not know that he will be accountable for his lack of action despite having full knowledge. Does he not know that the Master of both the worlds, Messenger of Allah, peace and blessings of Allah be upon him, has said, on the day of judgment, of all people, that scholar will be reprimanded who Allah did not allow to be benefited by his acquired knowledge. It has been mentioned in the stories of wise men that a revered person saw the deceased Junaid Baghdadi in his dream. The person asked, "O Abul Qasim, tell me about the state of man after he dies." The revered Junaid Baghdadi replied, "Worship and gestures were of no help. Only the prayers that I used to implement regularly after waking up in the middle of the night provided some help." Son, superficial knowledge without pious actions will leave you without resources, so do not be empty of inner achievements. You can be certain that hollow knowledge without pious actions will not help you on the day of judgment. You can understand this via the following example. If someone is passing through the jungle or wilderness, and he's equipped with 10 sharp swords and a bow and arrow, and he's familiar with the use of these weapons as well as with the skills of battle, and all of a sudden a lion appears in front of him, will the person be able to escape from the lion if he does not use his weapons skillfully? You know very well that the person will never be able to save himself. In analogy, you should also know that if any person learns 100,000 solutions to intellectual problems but does not implement any solution, then his practices will not benefit him in any way. Let me give you a second example. If a person becomes sick, let's say he develops fevers and biliary emesis, even if he knows the treatment of his illness, if he does not use these treatments, will his knowledge of the treatment alone result in resolution of the fevers and biliary emesis? You understand very well that just knowing the therapy is not in itself sufficient to resolve an ailment. Put another way, if you weigh 2,000 ounces of wine, you will still not be intoxicated until you actually drink some of it. The letter continues to explore this subject further. I will continue with this letter in Volume 4 of Amazing Islam. Until then, see you next time. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, and peace, mercy, and blessings of Allah be upon you.